American military forces just totally crushed Iran's Navy and Air Force, and yet this radical regime still absolutely refuses to surrender.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a complete paradox, right?
Right.
But look, you are watching a massive historic shift unfold right now in the Middle East.
Right, and we want to give you the hard facts right out of the gate. Because under Operation Epic Fury, President Donald Trump directed U.S. and Israeli forces to permanently eliminate the Iranian nuclear threat.
And they used overwhelming force to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they wiped their Air Force off the map, they totally destroyed their Navy, and they took out their top leadership, basically leaving the supreme leader severely injured and out of the picture.
It's a total game changer. And now the U.S. military is enforcing this suffocating naval blockade. They've already turned around 33 ships.
Wow, 33.
Yeah, 33 ships. And they seized 5 massive oil tankers that were carrying, millions of barrels of smuggled crude oil.
Meanwhile, the whole region is just holding its breath. I mean, Pakistan just brokered this super fragile 14-day ceasefire.
Right, to save their own skin, really. But those peace talks are practically frozen.
Because the demands are just totally incompatible. The U.S. has drawn a firm line in the sand demanding a 100% total end to Iran's nuclear enrichment.
But Iran's radical leaders, they refuse to give an inch. Instead, they're just holding the Strait of Hormuz hostage.
And for those listening, that's that narrow waterway where 20% of the world's traded oil passes through. It's huge for your wallet.
Exactly. So today, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack all these sources and show you exactly why the U.S. maximum pressure campaign is working.
Right, and we're going to look at how Iran's leadership is basically cracking under the weight of this blockade and what this whole military showdown actually means for you and your money.
So let's start with Operation Epic Fury and that ironclad blockade. Because the phrase maximum pressure gets thrown around a lot in politics.
Oh, for sure. It usually just means sanctions.
Right. But looking at the details here, it is not just a metaphor. The military strikes physically dismantled Iran's war machine. We are talking about half of their entire missile stockpile just destroyed.
And military factories literally leveled to the ground.
Yeah. And that physical destruction is what set the stage for the economic blockade.
Hmm.
Because without a navy or an air force to defend their waters, Iran is totally exposed.
So since April 13th, U.S. Central Command has placed a literal stranglehold on the region. They are actively choking off the regime's only real source of income.
Which brings us back to those 33 Iranian-linked vessels being forced to turn around.
Right, and I really want to understand the how of this blockade because, it's one thing to say you're blocking a port, but the ocean is huge. How does the U.S. Navy actually stop 33 massive ships? They aren't just building a wall in the water.
Well, it's this massive logistical dragnet. The U.S. uses satellite surveillance, drone patrols, and radar to track every movement.
Oh, yeah.
And when they spot a vessel carrying sanctioned Iranian oil, they don't just, ask it politely to stop.
They send in the troops.
Exactly. The Navy conducts actual physical boarding operations. They put highly trained American sailors onto these massive cargo ships and literally take control of the helm.
The specific takedowns from the sources read like an action movie. You've got ships like the Majestic X, the Deep Sea, and the Seven getting intercepted.
And then there's the Durana.
Right, the Durana.
Right.
The Navy caught that single ship trying to smuggle 2 million barrels of oil.
2 million.
Just to put that in perspective for you guys, that is tens of millions of dollars in a single shipment sitting fully loaded, and the Navy just swoops in and completely shuts it down.
And that level of enforcement really highlights President Trump's absolute red line here. The administration made it super clear this blockade is permanent until Iran signs a deal ending its nuclear program.
Permanently.
Yes. No temporary pauses, no halfway measures. The taps are shut off until the nuclear facilities are dismantled.
But, this is where the logic kind of breaks down for me. I think of it like putting a massive boot on the wheel of Iran's economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't move a single inch without American permission.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
So their military is crushed, their airspace is totally vulnerable. With their military essentially gone, how are they even pretending they can fight back?
Well, they have to abandon traditional warfare. I mean, because Iran lacks the heavy machinery to actually go toe-to-toe with American destroyers, they've pivoted entirely to asymmetric threats.
Let's define that real quick. When we say asymmetric, we are talking about unconventional tactics, right? Like, they aren't sending a battleship to fight a battleship.
Correct. Asymmetric warfare is when you use cheaper, unconventional methods to attack a larger enemy. So for Iran, that means deploying these fleets of fast attack boats.
Like speedboats.
Yeah, essentially heavily armed speedboats.
Yeah.
They are highly maneuverable, and they try to swarm civilian cargo ships navigating the Strait of Hormuz.
Which is terrifying for those civilian sailors. So it's basically a harassment strategy. It's like a swarm of hornets attacking a tank. I mean, they know they can't destroy the tank, but they want to make the drivers so miserable that they just turn around and go home.
That is a perfect way to look at it. It's pure desperation from a severely weakened regime. They know they can't break the U.S. blockade, so they're just trying to create enough chaos to drive up global fear and insurance premiums.
Right. They want everyone else to feel the pain.
Exactly. They hope international pressure will force the U.S. to back off.
But what is truly wild to me is what is happening inside Iran's government while all this is going down. I mean, you would think a massive threat like this would unify a country's leadership, but they are completely fracturing.
Oh, the internal divide is deep. We are seeing this really bitter split between the pragmatic politicians who just want to survive and the fanatic military leaders who literally want to fight to the death.
Okay, so let's break down those two groups. On one side, you have the moderates, like the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian. He is looking at the math. The reports say Iran is facing $300 billion in war damages.
$300 billion. It's staggering.
Right. The economy is in ruins. So Pezeshkian and his guys, they want to negotiate. They want to fix the country and get this blockade lifted.
But then you have the hardliners. This is mostly the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. These are commanders like Ahmad Vahidi.
And the services brought in U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's analysis on this, which was fascinating. He pointed out that Vahidi and his generals are operating on an apocalyptic vision.
An apocalyptic vision. Yeah, that phrase really hits hard.
It totally does. It means they aren't looking at spreadsheets or trade deficits. They are entirely motivated by radical theology. They do not care about the well-being of their citizens.
And when you understand that radical mindset, their obsession with nuclear weapons makes terrifying sense. To the IRGC, a nuke isn't just leverage, it's their ultimate goal.
And we know exactly how close they are, which is the scary part. U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff shared this statistic from the negotiation table that is just, it's alarming.
Oh, the uranium bragging.
Yes. While the Iranian diplomats were sitting across from the Americans, they actually bragged that they had 460 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium.
Which needs some context for the listener. Uranium enriched to 60% is just one short technical step away from weapons grade.
Right.
And 460 kilograms. That is enough material to build 11 nuclear bombs.
It's
11.
It is absolute insanity that they would use that as a flex during peace talks. I mean, they thought waving 11 potential nuclear bombs in America's face would make them look strong.
But instead, it just proved exactly why Operation Epic Cherry was necessary in the first place. You simply cannot let a regime with an apocalyptic vision build 11 nukes.
No, you can't. And the dysfunction inside their government gets even crazier. Wow. Living next door to a regime that is willing to basically burn its own house down. That is a geopolitical nightmare for the neighboring countries.
Which explains the peacemakers' panic we're seeing right now. I mean, look at Pakistan. They're the ones who stepped in to broker this 14-day ceasefire.
But let's be real, Pakistan didn't do this out of the goodness of their hearts.
Oh, not at all. It was pure strategic self-preservation.
Because a full regional war would absolutely wreck Pakistan's fragile economy. They desperately need the energy imports that flow through there.
Exactly. If the Strait of Hormuz becomes a war zone, Pakistan goes dark. So they forced this pause. And the second they did, global markets reacted in a very weird way.
Yes, the taco trade. I love this term. So for the listener, analysts are calling this the taco trade tactical allocation to ceasefire opportunities.
It's a great acronym, but it really shows how Wall Street thinks. During a crisis, investors buy safe stuff, like oil. But the second the shooting stopped for those 14 days, they shifted.
Right. They dumped their oil futures and bought tech stocks, creating this temporary bump in the stock market. But my question is, if this taco trade is just a temporary Band-Aid, aren't investors just playing a highly dangerous game of chicken with a radical regime?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Because without a permanent U.S.-backed deal that actually removes those 11 potential nuclear bombs, the geopolitical risk is still massive.
Because oil prices are still dangerously high, right? I mean, one analyst called the Strait of Hormuz the most expensive hostage in the world.
And it is.
Okay.
With 20% of the world's traded oil going through there, the global economy is just at their mercy. That temporary relief in the stock market is just a breather, not a fix.
And meanwhile, you have the wealthy Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE just waiting in the wings. They have billions ready to invest in rebuilding Iran.
Right, but only if there is stability.
Yeah.
And that only happens if the U.S. lifts sanctions and Iran permanently drops the nukes.
So to sum this all up for the listener, the U.S. military has successfully neutralized a massive threat. The blockade is working. America holds all the cards here.
Yeah, the physical threat is contained, but the ideological threat, still there.
Exactly. So you need to watch the gas pump, and you need to watch your investments. Because as long as these radical clerics refuse to surrender their nuclear dreams, the global economy is still on edge.
It really is. And, you can crush a navy, but destroying an ideology is a lot harder. Which actually brings up a really fascinating report from the New York Times.
Oh, right, about the power shift inside Tehran.
Yeah. So apparently, because the supreme leader was severely injured and incapacitated during the conflict, Iran is essentially being run like a corporate board right now.
But not a board of normal politicians. This board is entirely controlled by the hardline military generals making decisions for him.
Exactly. The military is basically making all the political decisions now.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for you to chew on. If the radical military generals are now totally in charge of the state, does traditional diplomacy even exist anymore? Or will military force be the only language this regime ever understands? Something to think about next time you see a headline about peace talks.